So good morning and good evening. Welcome to the Sri Aurobindo and Mother's Study Circle, where we are going through the passages of a compilation by Dr. S Dalal. The name is Looking from Within. So it's a much needed, compilation because we have always looked outside. But how do you view the world from inside is something that we need to learn, we need to know to, touch the depths of who we are, or at least, attempt to touch the depths of who I am. So, assuming we are ingathered, breathing, present in the present moment, invoking Mother and Sri Aurobindo's grace, presence, and aspiring for suppleness so that I can be more expanded and imbibe things that I need to imbibe for my journey. For each, it could be different, no right or wrong. So, whatever I'm ready for, may I be able to take it in and implement. So, we are coming to an end of chapter 2. And I think the last section's topic was helping others. And we have these last two passages left, one from the Mother, one from Sri Aurobindo. And then we'll go on chapter 3. So if anybody is willing, they can read the first passage for us.
Yeah. If one sincerely wants to help others and the world, the best thing one can do is to be oneself, what one wants others to be. Not only as an example, but because one becomes a center of radiating power, which, by the very fact that it exists, compels the rest of the world to transform itself. I'll read again. If one sincerely wants to help others and the world, the best thing one can do is to be oneself, what one wants others to be. Not only as an example, but because one becomes a center of radiating power, which, by the very fact that it exists, compels the rest of the world to transform itself. Mother.
Anything on this?
I think this is like when you say that if we change ourselves, it's like one drop of poison less.
Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful, and sometimes it's the wonder that how can so much what you could feel or believe, how they can so easily put it in some words and it would explain itself so beautifully. So it's, I don't know, such a privilege and a blessing to be able to read such words. So if one sincerely wants to help others, why the word sincerely? Because most of what we do is not really it's not really true help, right? Most of the advices we give are maybe just that, that either we feel that the other is not doing right, or we feel that it helps me when I advise somebody else, right? Like there are so many other reasons. In the facade of helping, I do a lot of, I don't know, things that don't need to be done. So the first condition is that if one sincerely wants to help others, And what do I consider to be a sincere help? I offer, right? I usually offer my advice. I could offer financial assistance. I could offer physical help. That's what we think help is. So, this is taking us further. If one sincerely wants to help others and the world, so not just, the one or two people that you're able to see, 10 or 15 or 20, but the world, Mother says, the best thing one can do is to be oneself, what one wants others to be. Would any of us like to elaborate on this, or maybe all of us one by one? Because I think this is really important. So, this sentence, right? To be oneself, what one wants others to be, how do we understand this? What does that mean to us? Yeah, Charuji, since you are unmuted, would you like to
Yeah,
just share?
yeah. This, 3 days back, we were in Coimbatore. It's a very, day-to-day incident which happened. So there was a maid, who was working in our house. When she came, she was very unhappy and stubborn. And she asked me, when did you come? Then I said, yeah, yesterday we had come. And though the tone was very rude, then I thought, I don't know what happened. Then she was asking me, your daughter got married? Yes, my daughter got married. From the tone, I understood she is, not happy, or, she wanted me to give her something. The way and her body language was not very comfortable. Then I didn't say anything. She could, clean, and she just went. Then I was, that the gesture with which she came, I was not very comfortable. Then I was sitting with myself. What is this behavior? So she is a helper. You cannot expect anything from her, but, at least some have normal gesture with she can work. Then I was thinking, no, in there, maybe she would have expected something from me, which I have not given. I didn't know that she wanted something. So I started, blessing her. It's okay, whatever is there. I started blessing her. Then, but coming to that state of blessing state, it took lot of time for me. First, inside anger came inside me, why this lady has to behave like this? Because every month whatever has to be given, we are giving. But why she is behaving this way? Why she is behaving? Because my ego got hurt. So after sitting with myself for 15 minutes, I understood that, it is not about money. Maybe they wanted something else which you could not give, you could not understand. It's okay, no problem. We will leave. Then I started blessing her. Then I could just go to her level and thought, they all are, after all, they are working for something else. They expect something which I didn't give. That is why she is upset. It's okay. I will not get angry for her behavior. So when I started blessing her, it's okay. No problem. I love you all. That 4 lines are there. No, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I don't know for whom I'm doing, but still I thought, let me do it. The very next day when she came, her gesture changed. She was bit better than the previous day. So the very next day, she became fully normal. I gave her sari for Diwali and some money. And before even giving that, she became all right. So I thought first I had to change myself. Otherwise, I was also in that angry mode. Why she has to behave like this? So that change took place in me, which changed her. So this is very, very silly, but, I thought this is very revelatory for me. The work has to be done here, not outside. I
Yeah.
don't need to react, no, the way in which she is acting. That gave me a beautiful lesson. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Your, examples are so real life, they really help. And just to expand on this, how mother is saying that if you want something to be changed in other, you change it in yourself. So another thing, in addition to what you did, what one sees is that if one is ever dissatisfied or angry with someone else's behavior, we don't have to have mood swings. We don't have to lash out, right?
Ah,
So if
yeah.
I have control, when I see how it feels, right? Like I see that mostly. Say if I see somebody, for example, if you see a couple fighting, it looks very
Mm,
ugly, right? When you actually see them like badly fighting, even verbally, that
mm,
energy is very repulsive. When you
mm,
see, say, a mom scolding a child, or just parents, or anybody scolding a child, mistreating or something, I might be scolding my child, then I would not see that ugliness somehow because I'm
mm.
part of the picture. But when I see or hear somebody shouting on a child, for example, there's some ugliness that hits you, right? That this is not right.
Yeah.
So when I see that, I usually, what do I do? If I hear somebody shouting, I'll be like, they're always shouting. What's the point of shouting? Can't they do it politely? But what are we told? What is the pointer here? That you change. If you feel shouting is ugly, you let go of shouting, right? You
Yeah.
make the world less ugly. So that's a very, very, very important thing because in the pretext of helping, we basically feel that, oh, I'm so good, right? See, I'm finding that bad. That means I
Mm,
must be good. But since now we know that the world is a mirror and anything I see,
mm.
anything, any flaw, any weakness, rest assured, 100% it's also in me. Maybe in a varying degree, or maybe it just has not got the correct soil to surface. But if I can recognize it, it's in me. So then what do? I change it in myself. I don't even have to say anything to the other person. So, like mother said, you change it in yourself, and if you change, it's like a power that radiates, right? So, without words. So, again, this is not something that my mind will understand, right? Because mind just understand, how stool, like materialistic things. Oh, I gave my advice. Oh, I gave financial help, or I showed the way, but I didn't become the way. So here, what are we being told? Don't show the way, become the way. Don't give advice, become the advice. With
How?
children also they say, right? That don't tell them what to do. You be that and they will become that. But that is tougher. Giving advice is much easier. So, yeah. Yeah, please.
No, I was finding funny in myself, for a little, that, unrude behavior, that rude behavior which affected me. That
Mm,
means how low I am in my energy. Nothing should affect me. If she behaves that way, I can be silent also,
mm,
not outside, inside. Something is fluctuating. I could see that fluctuation. So that means if outside world is not happy, then you will not happy. I asked myself these questions.
yeah.
No, it's not like that. It's okay. If she is behaving like that, let her behave. But I can be more calm and peaceful. Then I can give whatever I want. I can do whatever I wanted to do.
Mm,
Within that, 15 minutes, everything came to me.
mm.
So I was thinking she has given me that gyan.
Yes, absolutely. That's the point. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Ritu, would you like to share something on this? Anything, if you would like, about this, how becoming that, if that makes sense, if you have experienced that?
Yeah, it is beautiful, but somehow, when it happens, I forget it. This is this becomes very distant. I react. So I don't have much to say about it, but just try and imbibe it.
Yeah. And we are not just talking about reactionary things, right? You're saying that, oh, something happens and you react, right?
Yeah.
That is something that is kind of pushing your triggers, na?
Hmm.
So this is even being spoken about general. You know how, say, with specific people, we have specific issues, right? That have been going on sometime for years,
Yeah.
right? Why does he not do that? Why does he not
Hmm.
do this? And he, she, whatever. So even those things that are not pushing my trigger and how I would want the other to change. It's very interesting that I'll share something here from a personal thing. My partner, I feel that he is very late Latif. Like if we have to go somewhere at 1, probably he'll realize that at 12:45 and at 1 he'll be getting ready, for example. So for years, I have felt that he doesn't plan things, he doesn't know how much time it would take. And then slowly I started avoiding going out with him a lot of times. I felt I was much on time and stuff, but always delayed about because of the involvement. But this time when I came to India and I was alone for 2 months, I realized that I also don't have much time management skills. I was also running behind a lot of times in my mind. I'm a very punctual person. But how I was acting, where I was, how I was rushing towards things, I realized that, oh my God, like all this time, I've been thinking that it's him, it's him, it's him. But I am no better, for example. So then I realized that that is why it has been triggering me so much. So pehle, if I can correct myself, that's so much better than trying to correct someone else. And if I correct myself, like mother is saying, right, you ready. So I shared this because it doesn't have to be a trigger. It can be anything I see around me which bothers me. So another example would be, say, we find our government very frustrating most of the times, right? We feel nobody's doing anything, there is no law and order, there is corruption, there is everything, right? So the question here is, who is making the government? People like me, right? Do I respect law and order? The answer is no, not really. Am I a very dynamic, active person? Not really. Am I fighting for justice? Not really. So, in the sense, if people like me are representing the government, if it's, us who are becoming the government, and if I don't have that, from what, how do I have the authority to say that, oh, the government is this and they are not doing anything and they are scammers and right? So, this accountability, this window, the first time when I saw it, I was really surprised that, oh my God, so the onus again for everything lies on me. And if I change myself, what they change or not, I don't even know, but a lot changes and a lot of these complaints they drop automatically. I don't know why, Ritu, you're always in such locations. You're always looking so exotic and as if, why are you in the session? You can just go and enjoy the fresh air. Yeah.
Surprisingly, I didn't notice, but when I looked at the screen, I thought, oh, it's a beautiful background. But when I
Yeah.
was looking at the background directly, it didn't strike me.
Yeah. Very strange that that happens to us all the time. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, Dia, I know you joined late. Hi, welcome. You've come come after a long time, but glad you could be here. Do you know what we are talking about? Would you have anything to say on it?
Yeah, first of all, thanks. After long, it's good to come to the session. I think we are talking about the change that we want to see in someone else. It actually should come from us, which is, I think we are discussing that, right?
Yes. So if I want to change something in someone or any, I mean, in general, so mother is saying that the best thing one can do is to be oneself, what one wants other to be. So is that something you would resonate with? Do you have anything to share on that? Because it's an important
Yeah,
thing
I
for us.
also
Yeah.
think that, for example, if we are complaining constantly, that person is this, they are not changing. So it doesn't change a bit. Okay, it just keeps exaggerating. Okay, but instead, if something that we want to change in ourselves, at least something changes. It's not, it doesn't exaggerate anymore. That's the difference, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Thank you for
example, that
sharing.
the
Yeah.
example that you gave for government, if two or three people change, they are also not doing that what is being done by most of the people. We are not corrupt, we are not doing this. If we can follow, at least something changes.
Mm.
Instead, if those two three people also say that what's the point of being honest, corrupt people are winning and they are getting ahead, and we are also propagating that in future, so there is no actual benefit of following that.
Yes, thank you. So the next time I see myself complaining, if I can remember this next or the 100th time when I get the awareness and I'm able to see that I'm complaining about something, maybe I can remember this and maybe there's something that can change, right? Maybe I can stop myself from advising and rather turning within and seeing that when do I do this and how do I work on myself in myself to not do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that would
Also,
be a
we are not
lesson.
sure if the other person will change or if the world will even change. We are never sure. But if we are doing it in ourselves, at least we have a certainty that we are changing. Something is changing.
Yes, right. Yeah, perfect. So taking this further, mother says that not only as an example, but because one becomes a center of radiating power. So mother is saying that I am not saying change because you have to be an example, just an example, but she further says that because one becomes a center of radiating power, which by the very fact that it exists compels the rest of the world to transform itself. So without saying, imagine the words that she's using compels the rest of the world to transform itself. So if I truly, again, the word is if one sincerely wants to help others and the world, the best thing one can do is to be oneself, what one wants others to be, not only as an example, but because one becomes a center of radiating power, which by the very fact that it exists compels the rest of the world to transform itself. You know how we have heard this, right? That if I am able to let go of one thing, even one thing that I've been doing that's not been working for me, that I've been carrying from, say, generation or some trauma from childhood, any belief which is not serving me or anybody, when I let go, there is a rise in consciousness, not just for me. Because, you know, our consciousness, like they say, is one, right? We are sharing. the same consciousness. So if I am able to make a tiny change, imagine the whole consciousness raises a little bit of the whole world. Again, it's not a mental thing that I would agree with, because that makes no sense. I see separate bodies, I see us as, you and me. And yet we know, right, that, how we've been grown up hearing कि उसी के अंश हैं, we are all one. But those are not just words. So, how beautiful just the visualization is, that if I become 1 ounce lighter, the consciousness of the whole world takes a leap, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, without me realizing. I find it very powerful. And so our accountability also really increases, right? Yeah. In one of the sessions, I think I'd shared something that I had read. It was really nice. I can't find my book. So again, it was a quote from Mother that, you like vigilance. I think it was that vigilance that just does not mean that you don't fall down. Vigilance, true vigilance also means that you don't lose any opportunity. I mean, you're so alert that you don't lose any opportunity for progress, any opportunity of transcending something, of overcoming a desire, a temptation, of learning something new. We give ourselves a lot of free rein, that koi baat nahi, we've been doing it for so long. A little bit, maybe a little bit we can indulge or allow myself. But according to her, vigilance means that not losing even a single chance for progress if we are able to see it based on our capabilities. So again, like she says, we all have our capacities and capabilities. So may I at least give justice and honor to that. It's again an aspiration and a prayer for most of us. Yeah. Really nice. So we can take up the second passage if there's nothing more on the first, unless we want to share something. Yeah, so if anybody wants to read, we can go on the second passage by Sri Aurobindo, the last passage in this section. Yes, Charuji.
Yeah. To concentrate most on one's own spiritual growth and experience is the first necessity of the sadhak. To be eager to help others draws away from the inner work. To grow in the spirit is the greatest help one can give to others, for then something flows out naturally to those around that helps them. I'll read once again. To concentrate most on one's own spiritual growth and experience is the first necessity of the sadhak.
You can, why don't you try reading a bit more slowly? I think
Yeah.
there's more absorption then, right? Take your time, there's no rush.
Yeah. To concentrate most on one's own spiritual growth and experience is the first necessity of the sadhak. To be eager to help others draws away from the inner work. To grow in the spirit is the greatest help one can give to others, for then something flows out naturally to those around that helps them.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of times, especially when we hear something beautiful or when we are given some help, we feel very grateful, right? We feel very grateful to that person, that vessel, that instrument through which something has come to us. But it has also, it happens that, okay, see, I receive something beautiful. Instead of valuing that beautiful thing or to put it in my life, I get so engrossed and enamored by the one who has given it to me that the thing that I have received, it kind of just dissolves and loses itself. I don't know if I have been able to communicate this right. So there have been times when I've actually heard people saying that don't say anything. I mean, if you've found something which you're able to take, just, their biggest gratitude would be to become that. Because in our desires to be communicative, in a desire to express that gratitude, there is a strong chance that we lose what we can imbibe. Although, it sounds a bit counterintuitive that should we not say thank you? Should we not appreciate? So yes, but sometimes we just go overboard, right? We get so and taken away by what was told to us, what advice was given, what grace was given, that imagine that we forget what is given because we get so, I don't know, lost in the whole thing. So it's a very good reminder that Sri Aurobindo says that to concentrate most on one's own spiritual growth. This also seems like a sutra because for me, most of the thing it's about the others, right? A lot of times. Why this, why that, why the weather is so cold, why the wind is so strong, for example. But to concentrate most on one's own spiritual growth and experience is the first necessity of the sadhak. To be eager to help others draws away from the inner work. Say, for example, I'm reading something and suddenly I find something very beautiful. And I say, okay, must share it on WhatsApp, for example. So a lot of time in that process that I look for my phone, I click a picture, I send the picture, I even might click on other 4 groups that I had no intention of clicking and reading the messages. So I get distracted. So Sri Aurobindo, and he's not saying don't do it. But what is he saying? That the first necessity of the sadhak to be eager to help others draws away from the inner work. So the first necessity is to concentrate most on one's own spiritual growth. So if I have a desire to share, first I can pause, right, and ask myself, have I understood? Does that make sense to me? What can I do to put it in my life, for example, if it's relevant? And then maybe once I'm done with me, I can share so that others can benefit. Because I call this help, I call this sharing, it gives me a high, but then no work has been done, no progress has happened. So, to concentrate most on one's own spiritual growth and experience is the first necessity of the sadhak. To be eager to help others. Just give me 1 second. I'm finding the light to be less. To be eager to help others draws away from the inner work. To grow in the spirit is the greatest help one can give to others, for then something flows out naturally to those around that help them. So again, no words needed, no corrections needed, no actions needed to correct others. If I grow in my consciousness, in my spirit, that is the greatest help, much bigger than opening NGOs and God knows what all we fantasize about, doing charity, giving people food, helping financially. Those have their places. But here he's saying that the biggest help I can give to the whole world is to grow in the spirit, for then something flows out naturally to those around that helps them. And we have felt that, right? We feel that when we are actually in presence of somebody with a little bit lightness even. And especially if they are, like say if I don't know, I don't want to give examples, but yeah, when we are with people who are, less burdened, less affected, you feel that there's an energy around them which is lighter and more beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Anything on this? I think it's very simple and very simply put. So we still have time. So if it's okay, we'll begin with chapter 3, action and work. So maybe we can just quickly see what chapter 2 was all about so that if we want, we can go back and look at it ourselves. So chapter 1 was looking at life and circumstances. Chapter 2 was, section 2 was looking at oneself and others. So this is life and circumstances. Then we come at oneself and others. So in this, we read discovering a hidden treasure, turning to the coming light, defects of others, equality, goodwill, dealing with others, sin, a thing not in its right place, and lastly, what we read, helping others. So that's what we just finished. And now we are on section 3. The title is Action and Work. So I think there's more dynamism, and the first passage would pertain to acting from within. Yeah. So if anybody wants to just read, maybe we can take one at one time. So action and work, section acting from within. Yeah, yes, Ritu.
Not only in your inward concentration, but in your outward acts and movements, you must take the right attitude. So, not only in your inward concentration, but in your outward acts and movements, you must take the right attitude. Sri Aurobindo. So, here, if our inward concentration is at its right place, then won't the outward acts and movements fall at the right place automatically?
Yeah. So if the inner movements are at the right place, you're absolutely right that the outer would fall in place automatically. But if, say, we have an issue, if we want to do something, and if we first want to make the change inwards, Mother says it doesn't happen that way. If we want to progress, if we want to overcome something, transcend something, she says first put it in your action. We feel first I have to change it inside and it will reflect outside, which is right, but it's very difficult to do. So she said, first, if
Mm.
I start acting, so if
Mm.
say I want to be more kind and I say, oh, I must cultivate a heart which has more kindness. So that is much more difficult and it takes much longer, much longer. But she says that if you start putting kindness in your actions, that okay, let me see what is kindness and I want to inculcate it in my actions. She says it goes in much faster and then you'll have that heart which is kinder genuinely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Again, in psychic education, Dia, I don't think has joined, but for Charuji and you, I mean, this is covered beautifully, this thing, that how Mother has again a very beautiful quote on this. Very clearly, she's saying, first change your actions and the others will fall, just follow suit. But we think that it is the opposite. So, in the chakkar of making holistic changes from within, we end up not changing. And that's a trap. Yeah. So very simple. Again, just rereading what Ritu read, and then we'll go on the next one. Not only in your inward concentration, but in your outward acts and movements, you must take the right attitude. So here he's saying, in addition to inwards, you must also take the right attitude in your outward acts and movements. Yeah. Yeah. Dia, would you like to unmute and read this for us?
Yeah. You must learn to act always from within, from your inner being. The outer should be mere instrument and should not be allowed at all to compel or dictate your speech, thought, or action.
Yeah. Thank you. So the master of me should not be the outer self, the outer judgments, the outer instruments. So what your Aurobindo is pointing out here is that I should be connected from within. And this is why, Mother so strongly says, whenever there is somebody who's truly wanting change or to get direction, she says the only way is connecting with your psychic being, and then you will know what to do. So on the same lines, much very tough, and yet if we are reading it, just to know it even, that we must learn to act always from within, from your inner being. The outer should be a mere instrument and should not be allowed at all to compel or dictate your speech, thought, or action. But most of us, we are not connected so much with the inner being, but however much we can connect in a capacity. So instead of being very reactive, which is very difficult, we can pause. Thai talks a lot about that, right? That stop, stop, stop. This is what mindfulness is. This is what that therap, that when I'm able to stop myself for just saying what I have to say, damn, if I'm able to give myself some pauses, this becomes more practical for me. This becomes easier for me in whatever degree that I am capable of. Yeah, anything we would want to discuss on this? Okay. So yeah, anybody who would want to read this?
All should be done quietly from within, working, speaking, reading, writing, as part of the real consciousness, not with the dispersed and unquiet movement of the ordinary consciousness.
Yeah.
That means I think we should always be well connected from within.
Yeah. As much as we can, as much as we are capable of. So the best is to be in touch fully with our psychic being. But depending on where we are, aspiring for that full connection, but in whatever degree we can do, if we can, connect within, again, this might not be a possibility for the most of us, but at least just to know that this is the ideal way it should be done. So all should be done quietly from within, working, speaking, reading, writing, as part of the real consciousness, not with the dispersed and unquiet movement of the ordinary consciousness. Yeah. We can take the next one.
Yeah, Tara, I'll read.
Yes.
It is the spirit and the consciousness from which it is done that makes an action yogic. It is not the action itself. I'll read one more time. It is the spirit and the consciousness from which it is done that makes an action yogic. It is not the action itself. So beautiful, no? So beautiful. Everything is beautiful.
Yeah. There's a quote, I think, I don't know, maybe it's a Buddhist quote that before enlightenment, cut grass, drink coffee, something like this. And after enlightenment, cut grass, drink coffee. I'm just paraphrasing, as in nothing changes. And yet a lot changes when depending on what is the center of the operation. Mother says that if you are able to get in touch with your psychic being, you will be truly guided for whatever your purpose is. But till you reach that point, do everything as you are doing it for the divine, as an act towards divine. So if we are able to do that, then again, this Sri Aurobindo's quote that it is the spirit and the consciousness from which it is done that makes an action yogic. It is not the action itself. So we still have some time. It's a little bit bigger, but maybe we can just take this. If anybody is willing, they can read it for us, the last quote. Thank you.
Everything depends on the inner condition, and the outward action is only useful as a means and a help for expressing or confirming the inner condition and making it dynamic and effective. If you do or say a thing with the psychic uppermost or with the right inner touch, it will be effective. If you do or say the same thing out of the mind or the vital or with a wrong or mixed atmosphere, it may be quite ineffective. To do the right thing in the right way, in each case and at each moment, one must be in the right consciousness. It can't be done by following a fixed mental rule. Sri Aurobindo.
But let's reread it. Everything depends on the inner condition. So again, the same thing was almost said before. And the outward action is only useful as a means and a help for expressing or confirming the inner condition and making it dynamic and effective. So he's saying everything depends on the inner condition. What is my center of operation? And what I do outwards, it's just expressing what is inside of me. Because the outward movement gives it a dynamism and makes it effective. Moving on. If you do or say a thing with the psychic uppermost, or with the right inner touch, you're connected, you're offered, you're surrendered as much as you can, it will be effective. So if you are standing at the right place, trying to do the right thing, not mentally, but there is some inner direction that you are getting. If you do or say the same thing out of the mind, mind is what we consider the highest. This is called the mental plane, right? We are called mental beings. And the next raise is supramental, which is above the mental. So we know the mind is limited. We have seen this in our lives. So if I'm just doing something out of the mind or the vital, or with the wrong or mixed atmosphere, it may be quite ineffective. And this is why so much of our efforts, so much of our advices to ourselves and others, they go unheard and things don't appear to change. And I often just blame outside, right? Nothing changes. That person is like a wall. Nothing moves him, her, or me. Why don't I change? Why don't I get up earlier? For anything. But because if the center is not connected, if it's just a feeling or a thought, it will be quite ineffective. To do the right thing in the right way in each case and at each moment, right thing, right way in each moment, one must be in the right consciousness. It can't be done by following a fixed mental rule. So I think one thing that it's doing especially is to just giving us, this thing that mind is very limited. The fixed mental notions won't help us. And to as much degree as we can, even aspiring and praying for the right consciousness, to do the right things, to be guided, would be a step towards realizing this. So, to do the right things in the right way, in each case and at every moment, one must be in the right consciousness. It can't be done by following a fixed mental rule. Sri Aurobindo.
This applies a lot in our workplace too, I think.
Would you like to elaborate that a little bit?
Suppose sometimes we are following certain fixed rules and they are decided by someone, and people just follow the rules without thinking that what we are actually doing and how is it benefiting. If we are actually well connected and we know what we are doing, we are able to do it in a better way and it makes it efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
without actually knowing what we are doing and following some dead rules, we are actually knowing and reflecting on it, we are able to make it more alive.
Yeah. And the truth is that a lot of what I am or what I am choosing, what I have chosen, what I will be choosing is based on fixed conditionings, expectations, the collective desires, and there's not much of the true me in my choices. I do things because everybody is doing them, because they appear to be right, because it just that's the trend, that's what everything, again, I'm repeating myself, everyone is doing. So that I think what he's saying is not right, right? Because there's no you in it. There's no reason why you want to do it except everybody is doing it or I'm expected to do this. Yeah. So if there's any last comment, we can please make it. We'll take that. I'll be happy to share the screen if we need to. And otherwise, we'll end the session. So we'll end the session here. So just gratefulness. Yes, dear.
Yes, if we are done with today's thoughts, we can end.
Yeah. So
Looking forward to come again next week.
great. Thank you. Lovely to hear. We look forward to having you. And yeah, so just, thanking Grace, thanking the divine for the opportunity, the blessing, the will, the eagerness, the curiosity to know more, to be able to receive more so that one can become more or less, whatever one is aspiring for. So praying for peace, goodwill, wellness for everyone, and sharing the merit, if any, acquired through my deeds, my actions, my thoughts, with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.